Hello and welcome to my channel and welcome to my thoughts on Once Upon a Time Season 2 Episode 1 Broken. And spoilers.
Broken lines, broken strings, broken threads, broken springs.
Okay, so Season 1 finished with the promise of a completely new change of direction for Season 2. And I've got to admit, Season 2 opened very confusingly. So different was it to what I was used to that I literally had to check to see if I'd got the right programme or even the right episode, the right season. I was totally confused. And that confusion was confounded by the fact that the stranger we saw, I thought for the majority of the episode, was the real world equivalent of Prince Philip, who we saw in the next scene. It wasn't until the reveal that we was watching the Sleeping Beauty story in real time, as it were, in the present, that I suddenly realised that he couldn't have been Prince Philip. So who is he? I have not got enough information yet to even be able to hazard a guess, but from what we learn in the Sleeping Beauty part of the story, that there was a small corner of the kingdom that somehow became immune, and the fact that he was in New York City, not Storybrooke, is making me think maybe he's like Pinocchio, that he came through before the Dark Curse was enacted, or somehow came in after the Dark Curse was enacted, that he was from that small pocket of the kingdom that was immune. That's my best guess at the moment. Another mystery that presented itself was, well, it's a mystery that's been going on for a while, but now the characters are starting to question it, and which is, who is Dr. Weil? Again, I have no real good guesses, but now that the question has been aired by one of the characters, i.e. David, I'm thinking we're going to get an answer to that soonish. Hopefully we'll get a few more clues, or I'll get a few more clues before the final reveal, so I can have a better guess, because I've got nothing at the moment apart from that whale that attacked Pinocchio. Some of my favourite scenes for the episode were the reunion, which was, you know, the once Snow and Red and everything had met up, and Emma came along and she says, you know, I'm going to go and find my daughter now. I thought that was an emotional scene. It was beautifully written. It was funny. It wasn't overly deep, but I could really understand Emma's confusion. That was really well written, because to Emma this is just mind-boggling. To the sudden realisation, she needs time to take it all in, and yeah, it was well written to give her that time. My favourite scenes of all, though, were the interactions. I think there was 3 interactions between Rumplestiltskin and Belle. First at the well, where Belle asks or makes Rumplestiltskin promise not to kill Regina. And it really showed just how torn Rumplestiltskin is between the love of Belle and the love of power, because he did promise. Again, in the next scene with Belle and Rumplestiltskin, we see her having a go at Rumplestiltskin because he broke maybe not the word of the promise, but certainly the spirit of the promise, by sending the Wraith after Regina, which, oh my god, the Wraith, phenomenal effect, really absolutely fantastic. It just shows that right from the start that season 2 must have had just a much bigger budget than season 1 had. So yeah, wow to that. Yeah. Anyway, she walks out on Rumplestiltskin, and that final scene where she comes back and he says, you know, I'm always going to be a monster, you should leave. you know, that he was always going to be the man who makes wrong decisions, that chooses power over love. And she says, no, that's precisely the reason I have to stay. And I thought that was really just a wonderful thing, because Rumpelstiltskin is a main character, and if she's going to stick around, she has to become a main character. And we saw so little of her in the last series, so I'm really hoping that we're going to get a real in-depth look into their relationship.
And now you must leave.
What?
You must leave because despite what you hope, I'm still a monster.
Don't you see? It's exactly the reason I have to stay.
It's a relationship that's very important, because Belle can influence Rumpelstiltskin and turn him into a better person. Same with Henry and Regina, with Henry telling the crowd not to go after Regina because, after all, she's still my mum. I thought that was brilliant, and I'm hoping that the dynamic between the town's hatred of Regina and Henry's love of Regina is going to somehow bridge that gap between mother and son, and somehow bridge the gap between her evilness and her goodness. Okay, moving on and backtracking a little bit, because after that opening scene being so different, I was really quite relieved that the next scene was in the Enchanted Forest was so familiar. We got something so distant from what we're used to, and then suddenly something so familiar. I mean, so familiar, it was virtually a copy of the scene from the beginning of season 1, with a prince going to meet, or going to find his true love to awaken her from a curse that renders her into a death-like sleep, cured only by true love's kiss that was cast on her by an evil witch. And that's where the similarities stop, because of course Snow White and Sleeping Beauty's stories at the end were always very similar. I completely missed the inclusion of Mulan. I talked over where her name was mentioned, or I was otherwise thinking of something else, and completely missed that, and that was the only time she ever mentioned her name, so I just saw her as a formidable warrior woman. I thought she was absolutely brilliant. I think it's going to be very interesting seeing the Mulan legend mixed with the Sleeping Beauty legend. And of course at the end, Snow White and Emma end up in the Enchanted Forest in the present, which poses a lot of questions. There's just so much there that needs answering. Why did this pocket of the kingdom remain immune? Who else is there? What other characters that we know and love managed to survive the Dark Curse? Who is that man at the beginning? Because we didn't see him again for the whole episode. Who is Dr. Whale? I mean, the first episode has just opened up so many mysteries. Magic didn't feature very heavily, not as heavily as I was expecting. There was one lovely scene with the wallpaper attacking David, but as Rumpelstiltskin said, magic works very differently here. And we do see more magic in episode 2 being used, so that was good. So in conclusion, this was a really, really good start to a season. It was different and yet familiar. We got a backstory that I just wasn't expecting, Sleeping Beauty, and being in the present time. And we had the possibility of Maleficent coming back, because she was the one that put the Dark Curse on. And also, yeah, there was the thing where Sleeping Beauty says, first she came after my mother, now she comes after me. So who was Sleeping Beauty's mother? I don't know that. And what is the connection between Maleficent and and them. Yeah, I'm not getting a good time scale. I mean, we know Sleeping Beauty was told that she was asleep for a year, and I'm sure in the legends, in the original fairy story, she was asleep for 100 years. Am I thinking of the wrong one? But we know she's been asleep for at least 28 years, because they say that time was frozen in the Enchanted Forest during the time of the Dark Curse. So yeah, a lot of mysteries to be going forward with. Oh yes, also, I couldn't help but notice when they were trying to get the Jefferson's hat to work, it was very, very reluctant on Regina's magic. It was trying, but it just wasn't powerful enough. And then Emma touched Regina's arm, and bang! It just seemed to work even better than when Jefferson uses it. So, is Emma some sort of conduit for magic? Has she got magic in her? Yeah, that had to be important, because we see several times that Regina couldn't get it to work very well, or at all. And then bang, it worked as soon as Emma touched Regina's arm. So, that's worth thinking about as well. Anyway, thank you for watching this very brief thoughts on Broken, and I'll be back in just a few minutes with my thoughts on We Are Both. Until then, catch you later. Bye bye.